I just want to say hi to Pam Nolan real quick. Hi, Pam. How are you? It's been too long. I miss you.
I know. I haven't seen you since Joe Biden was here, I think.
Yeah, it's been a long time. That was a great day. But
It
yeah,
has.
I
Yeah.
miss I miss you coming into our office a lot. You have to come back soon.
Yes, I'll have to start getting out more. I'm fully vaccinated now, so I'm getting around more.
Awesome. I love to hear it. Congratulations on getting the vaccine. That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Thanks. It is. It was so funny. I was so surprised how excited I was when I got my vaccines both
Mhm.
times. It was
Yeah,
like, oh, it was like magic.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have one shot and I'm going back next week for my second. But I was like giddy when I got
Terrific.
my shot. I was giddy. I was over the moon
Yes.
excited and just couldn't stop smiling and laughing and chuckling. So it's definitely a great feeling.
Yeah. Yes, it is. I got a phone number from my cousin who called my other cousin, and then that cousin called me, and it was like, here, call this number, and you'll. And I called, and I got an appointment, and I felt like, oh my gosh, yeah, I felt
It's
like
like
I was getting
when
away with something. Like,
that's how I
go
felt
ahead.
too. Exactly how I felt too. I
Yeah.
felt like I was like having to do it secret. I felt like I had to like
Yes.
slink around the bayfront because I was like, oh gosh, I feel like I'm doing something wrong because it's so coveted. But it's definitely a great
Yes.
thing, and I definitely think whenever you have the opportunity to get the vaccine, you definitely should, if not for everyone around you, because of the feeling
Yeah.
of euphoria you get from getting the shot.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a wonderful
Right.
experience.
Right. Okay.
All right. There you are. See, you're up there in the top.
Oh, there's people on it. Good luck.
All right, everyone. Hello to the folks watching on YouTube at home. Thank you for joining us tonight for the first in our series of candidate forums here with the Erie County Democratic Party. My name is Jim Wirtz. I'm the chairman of the Erie County Democratic Party, and I'd like to start by thanking all of our candidates who are able to join us tonight and our panelists. We are going to begin tonight with some brief introductions. I'm going to offer introductions of both our candidates and our panelists, and then we will get into the forum, starting with our county executive candidates, and then moving on to our county council candidates from council districts 2, 4, and 6. So if you are a candidate or a participant here and are not speaking, please mute your microphone for the benefit of your fellow candidates. Our panelists tonight, we're missing one panelist. We were supposed to have with us Selena King, who is the chairwoman of our Erie County Democratic Party Black Caucus, and she had a last-minute family emergency and will be unable to join us this evening. But we do have with us Bill Panitsky. Bill is the business agent for Steam Fitters Local 449 and a member of the Erie County Democratic Party Executive Committee. We have with us Caleb Bazard. Caleb is a senior at McDowell High School and also a member of the Erie County Young Dems. And representing our LGBTQIA plus caucus, we have with us tonight Pam Nolan. So I want to thank our panelists for putting together their questions for our candidates. And coming prepared to help facilitate a wonderful conversation about Erie County and the future of Erie County government. Each of our candidates will receive one question at a time from our panelists. A panelist will present the question, and each candidate in that race will have 2 minutes to respond to that question. And then we will go on to the second question. Should we have enough time at the end of our first round of questions from our panelists, we will entertain second questions from our panelists. Following the Q&A of the forum, candidates will have 90 seconds to offer a closing statement. At the conclusion of our county executive forum, we will move on to what I'm sure will be a robust discussion with our county council candidates as well. So again, thank you all candidates and panelists for taking the time tonight, not only to help have this conversation here with the Erie County Democratic Party, but also for the benefit of voters who need a variety of channels to reach both you and the ideas that you're bringing into this campaign. So without further ado, I'll begin by introducing our county executive candidates. First, and these are being introduced in alphabetical order. First, we have Carl Anderson. Carl is a historian, a business consultant, and the president of Erie County Council. We also have with us Rita Bishop. Rita Bishop is a county employee and an IT specialist in Erie County government. Delana Grassinger is the director of the Erie Field Office for the U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants. And Dr. Tyler Titus is a licensed professional counselor and currently serves as the president of the Erie School Board. So without further ado, I'll turn it over for our first question to our friend from Labor, Mr. Bill Panitsky.
Good evening. With dwindling union membership, what do you see as a hurdle for organized labor in the near future? You're muted.
Are we answering
Thank
that?
you, Bill. We will also do this round of questions in alphabetical order. Councilman Anderson, you are first.
Okay. Bill, thanks for that question. And although we've had a dwindling union, workforce, county government is at the position right now where we can really change the trajectory of our community through the funds that we've received thus far this year, or will receive $52 million There's a potential for up to as much as $100 million more. And if the infrastructure bill is passed in September, there could be up to as much as $500 million coming into our community. This community deserves family sustaining, good paying union jobs, what the union represents, with responsibility, with training, with professionalism. And I think rather than a continuing dwindling of union membership, we are on the precipice of really turning that around and having the opportunity to make positive steps of having union membership explode in the next 5 years. So I'm excited to be a part of this changing dynamic of Erie County in bringing a strong workforce, back into where they belong in the workplace. And I will continue to fight as county executive to ensure that we have those family sustaining, high wage paying jobs with union memberships.
Thank you, Councilman. Ms. Grassinger, you're up next.
Certainly. Thank you, Bill, for that question. Coming from a family, oddly, of exactly the union you're representing, fond memories. But looking forward, Erie County, in order to continue to move forward, we need family sustaining jobs, right? So I think we need to look back to really what the roots of unions mean, right? And that's standards, right? And there are standards for safety in workplaces. There are standards for wages. And we know the national dialogue has been really around increasing that minimum wage. And what does that mean, right? So unions are at the forefront of that. And unions have been at the forefront of that. And I think we really need to pull on that history and what that momentum means going forward to continue to support unions and really what they stand for. I think that trades are a key to really this region growing. We have lots of opportunity, and I really see unions at the table making sure that they're part of that cohesive voice. And again, just family sustaining jobs. And I think that's where that's at. So, I appreciate the question. So thank you.
Thank you, Delana. And Rita, I apologize. You should have been number 2 there in the list, but I am not as good of a director as I used to be, apparently. So go ahead and
no problem.
You're up next.
All right,
Thank
Jim.
you.
I have talked to several union members. I live out in West County, and I've talked to quite a few guys from the electrical union, the labor union, carpenters union. We are desperate for workers. I think the way we're going to solve this problem or work on it is we need to have trades. We need to have young people trained. I know we're talking about a community college, but I am all in favor of that. We focus on trades, because if we don't have trades, we're not going to have anything. Trades are the bottom line of all jobs. It doesn't matter what kind of job you have. If we don't have the trades, there aren't going to be any other jobs. And the trades are the jobs that pay well. These are the jobs that families can be raised on. You can send your kids to school because you make a good living wage.
Thank you, Rita. Dr. Titus.
Thank you. So reflecting on what do I think the barriers for our union will be? And I think some of the biggest barriers are going to be those who don't get behind the union, those who are not putting union priorities first. So I don't know that the biggest barriers are going to be within the union force itself. There is a shared democracy, there are shared values, there are shared morals there. The biggest barriers for the union is going to be those working against it within the community itself, within the county itself. Those who are not willing to go to bat, those who are not willing to fight for, the right to unionize, for the workers' rights to unionize. I foresee, like serving on the school board, we went to bat. We went to bat for unions and the apprenticeship program, and making sure that we're one of the few districts across the state that still has the resolution that it has to be like that when we build out the contracts, it has to go through the union workforce. And if we don't make sure we have those allegiances and those alliances to union workers, to unionize workforces and trades, that's going to be your biggest barrier. Your biggest barrier is going to be the community members, those within the positions of power, not stepping up to make sure and to protect and to honor the rights to unionize, the rights of the union workers. So just, I guess, reflecting back on that, the biggest issue and the biggest barriers for unions will be those who are trying to make money versus uplift the community and support the workers.
All right, thank you, Dr. Titus. Our next question will come from Pam Nolan, representing the LGBTQIA caucus. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm wondering to what extent each of you has participated in LGBTQIA plus cultural competency training. And I'm also wondering what types, I guess this is a 2-in-1 question. What types of training would you recommend for our county council members?
And the first question will go to Councilman Anderson.
Coming back to me again first?
That's correct.
Okay. I have in the past, when I was a financial advisor with Morgan Stanley, gone through both competency training and diversity training in special programs that were put forward. Although I would admit that that was nearly 15 years ago. So it's always good to have a refresher course, and would always want to do that and have county employees doing the same in regards to continuing to make sure that we will have those types of trainings available and continue to increase the amounts of trainings available to county employees. We will be working on the creation of a diversity position as soon as we get the plans together for doing that. So county government is moving forward in those steps to be taken. And as county executive, I will continue to support those types of efforts and will absolutely ensure that county government respects equity and equality and inclusion and is trained to do so.
Thank you, Councilman. Rita Bishop.
I have to admit, I haven't taken any of the classes. I take the classes that the county offers, and actually right now, the only thing the county requires and makes us take is the sexual harassment class. I have always in my entire life, and anyone that knows me knows, that I believe in equality between everybody. Everybody gets the same rights. And I think that needs to be put into a policy within the county, because sometimes that is overlooked with situations in the county. And I myself have encountered situations in the county. So I think we need to train people. I think those, instead of just making people take one course a year that everybody's required, I think we need to require that all employees take these classes so they're educated on what's going on out in the world and people in the world and how we need to treat people. And that is one of the things that I definitely plan to have as county executive.
All right, thank you. Delana Grassinger, you're up.
Yeah, Pam, thanks for the question. So, over the course of the career, my career, it's been an integral part of what we do. I've played a role in forming and rolling out working groups that strive to be more inclusive, working with refugee needs. We know that, in my line of work, we're working with folks who have already been persecuted. We're seeing overlap in discrimination and persecution. And, I'm very happy and proud to say that, I've been at the forefront of making sure that our national organization is addressing, the needs of our refugees, in whatever way they're presenting themselves, so that there is a safe space, once they've been resettled. To go to more of a county issue, I kind of see this broken down into two parts. When you look at the county, one, leadership is going to set the tone, and leadership is going to guide policy, right? So we need to make sure that leadership is making sure that trainings are ongoing, and that they're mandatory. It's not kind of a one and done kind of thing. As far as workplace goes, I think we need to modernize, ongoing cultural competency and harassment training. We need to develop resources for employees, and look at, again, inclusive policy that's reflective of current nomenclature, which, I don't think we're seeing in, some of our policies. Just leadership is going to set that tone. And I am very happy to say that, I've been at the forefront of many cultural competency trainings. I enjoy that. That's probably the one thing in my work that really stands out, and I'm happy to bring to the table. So I appreciate that question. Thank you.
Thank you. Tyler Titus, you have the last response to this question.
When we look back to what trainings have I participated in, I'm very proud to say that I've not just participated in, but I've helped create, I've helped develop, I've helped implement, and locally, at a state level, and nationally. I've developed a reputation and an ability to connect and help people come to understand the LGBTQ community. This is something I'm very proud of, and this is something I'm very passionate about. But I want to take this a step further, and I want to say and challenge, even challenge back to this question and pose that this isn't a training, right? Equity is not a training. Equity is a lens in which we view all things, and equity is from how we must approach all things. And I think stopping at the training is falling short and leaving us where we will currently be. So I would like to push this even further and say that we need to develop policy that is reflective, that is inclusive, but is also protects those who are most vulnerable and most likely to experience harm from discrimination and marginalization. And we need to do that across the county board, and that we can't just stop at trainings to get those hours in, that we have to approach, and every department under the county executive needs to operate from this lens, from the lens of equity and inclusion. And so that we're not leaving any part of the county behind, that everyone has the opportunity to be elevated and become their most successful and authentic self. And that when we look to building up this county, that if we are not doing the most to protect our most vulnerable, then we are harming the county as a whole. So I guess that would be my response back is training is great, but we cannot stop there. It's an intro, and I would push the county to have that be the very lens in which we operate from.
Thank you for that response, Dr. Titus. And our next question, and the final question of this round before we move on to our closing statements, comes from our young Dem, Caleb Bizard.
Thank you, Jim, and I'd just like to thank all the candidates for being here this evening. There's a particular pattern of brain drain from Erie County recently, with young people leaving our county to go get an education in a bigger city or elsewhere, or after receiving an education here, going back to their hometowns or moving on to bigger cities. So my question to all the candidates tonight is, what is your message for young people to bring them back to Erie County or compel them to stay in Erie County? What proposals do you have that would entice them to make Erie their permanent home?
Carl Anderson, that first response is to you.
I would say to young people, hang in there, because the ability for you to stay in Erie and have a good living and a family sustains right around the corner. I've been at community college effort in Erie County to be able to open up accessibility and opportunity and hope for the young people of Erie County, to give them a chance to get training.
Carl's having a brief technical issue. I'm gonna, Councilman Anderson, I'm gonna stop you and mute you, and we'll come back to let you finish your presentation, finish your response to that question, and we're going to move on to Rita Bishop for your response.
Community college in and of itself,
I don't talk
will
over
be
him.
a center for training in the trade. And those people who are willing to
Okay, is Carl done?
Well, we will. We'll see if we can get him back here fully in a moment. Go ahead, Rita. You're
Okay.
up.
Caleb, I don't think it's so much as there's anything right now that we can tell the kids, oh, this is why you have to stay in Erie. We have to have something for them to stay in Erie. And if we do not have trained, skilled workers in Erie County, we are not going to get businesses to come to Erie County. A company is not going to invest in the money to build industry or whatever in the county of Erie if they do not have trained workers. I have been going all over the outside of the county, Corey, Union City, out in West County, Springfield. There's a ton of industry that's gone. And partly the reason it's gone, there's no skilled labor. They can't find anyone to work. So if you don't have skilled labor for industry to come to Erie County, there's no reason that you're going to get the kids to stay because the jobs are not going to be there. So we have to get the jobs first, then they'll stay. Okay.
Thank you, Rita.
You're welcome.
Delana Grassinger.
So Caleb, thanks for the question. Yeah, so, over nearly the past decade, under my leadership, my team and I have been really working to reduce that population drain that we've been seeing. There are a couple things going into play here, right? So first of all, we need to make sure that we're creating, family sustaining jobs, right? To keep people here. We need to make sure that we're creating a vibrant community. We know that remote work, especially, with the pandemic, coming out of the pandemic, is important, right? So making sure that, broadband is brought out to areas they're more rural, and making sure that happens, that's an option, right? Options are important. I'm really big at looking at smart growth strategies, right? And how we can invest in our assets to promote that growth, right? So we need quality rentals that are affordable for to keep people here, to bring people back, as you say. We need to use the existing talent that we have already here in Erie County. And I think we also, need to design, more walkable, bikeable communities. That's a big thing to me, is making sure that those things that attract individuals, right? And then we have our natural resources. We need to make sure that our natural resources are not just tourism based, but that they're, community based, and that we're creating that access for everyone, and that draw is there. So, again, looking at family sustainable jobs, making sure that we're creating options for young folks who have left, who want to stay, right? And voices at the table. I think that's a big one as well. So appreciate the question.
Thank you very much. Tyler Titus.
Thank you. I will lean right into Caleb. Thank you for that great question. I know that that's one that's been brought. So oftentimes I feel that the younger generation are told that like you're our future leaders, you're our future leaders, and I push back on that and I say no, they are the leaders of now. When you watch any of the movements that happened and have happened across our nation, it has been the young people at the forefront of all of them. So thank you. So thank you for what you're doing and holding us candidates accountable, and having us be transparent with you. You know, what I would say to the young people is, I hear you. I see you. You're right. You're right. We've got to do a better job as a county to give you reason to want to just stay here and not visit. To not just visit the beaches or, you know, to travel around to the amazing vineyards that we have, but to stay here and to build. And we do that through, you know, like the other candidates had said, renewable energy jobs. We need greener jobs. We need to make sure that this space is safe and viable to have a future and exist in. We need to make sure that we've got a healthcare system that is keeping people safe and helping them, you know, move forward in a holistic kind of view so that they can care for themselves and care for their loved ones. We need to have those good paying jobs. And we do that through, you know, many of the things that we've already talked about tonight, building up that innovative district. We lean into the young minds and listen to the solutions that they're bringing to the table. They've got so much to offer, and so often that they have to fight to be heard. And so we elevate that. We are at right now, you know, and I think Kathy Dahlkemper said, and a quote to the news, we've got a moonshot moment right now with this money that's coming in. And we've got to invest in the infrastructure. We've got to invest in the infrastructure that leads to the broadband, even though there's federal monies that are coming there, but also building into the home ownership, the ability to the transportation, getting it easier between to go to the county and the city. There's so many things that we can do, and we can do this smart. And there's, you know, the land bank authority they're coming together through the different municipalities and townships, and they're working to show that we've got great opportunity for industry to come here. But then also elevating those small businesses that are percolating right now, with especially in the young minds that who've had to figure out and be resilient through all of this. So if there's anything that I can say, I guess, to the young person is thank you for everything that you've brought forward and the visions that you've had and that you're going to continue to bring to this county. And I cannot wait to sit down with more of you so we can implement the brilliant ideas that you're bringing for the solutions. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Titus, and never want to let technology get in the way. I'm going to welcome back Councilman Anderson to the conversation, and we'll let you reiterate your statement as we lost you partway through.
Thank you. Can you hear me clearly now?
We do. We hear you.
Great. Caleb, thanks for the question. And as I said earlier, I would say to young people that the time is now for you here in Erie County to hang in there. Because we are doing the things and putting the tools in the toolbox. And I think leadership in Erie County finally understands the value of young people and the value of young people staying in our community and investing in our community and growing families here in our community. That's why I was behind the forefront of creating the community college to have hope, opportunity, and accessibility for people to have the opportunity for family sustaining jobs and the training to attack and be able to take advantage of the 21st century technology and jobs that are going to be developing. We need to continue to create resilient cities. We need to continue to create green cities. I've done that on county council. Proud that we just passed CPACE, which gives credit for those who take advantage of green initiatives. We have undertaken efforts to ensure that there's going to be long-term investment in the monies that have come into this community. Last year, county government, particularly county council, reinvested in our small businesses. We recognize entrepreneurship. We've been there at the forefront of turning the corner to recognize that if our future is going to continue to be bright and to grow, we need to not only retain, but always attract young people into our community so we can continue to grow this vibrant place.
Thank you, Councilman Anderson. We are now going to move into the closing statements of our county executives. And because Carl Anderson got bumped to the back of the pack here, I'm going to give him a minute to catch his breath. And Rita Bishop, will come to you first for your closing statement.
One of the things that I have decided when I took on this running for county executive was because Erie County is huge. We have a very, very large county, and we have a beautiful county. If you never have taken a ride out around the county, you really should, because we have a lot of wonderful small communities that need our help. They need county government's help. We need to help these people get jobs. We need to help their small businesses. Everybody in the county wants the same thing. Everybody wants a job that they can support their families with, a job that allows them to send their kids to school, affordable health care. That's what everybody wants. And we can't get that if we don't work together as a community, as the whole county, and not just a central location. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Delana, you're next.
Yeah, so thank you very much for putting this on. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Delana Graysinger again, Executive Director over at the International Institute of Erie, USCRI Erie as well. We've got a couple different names, pick one, and doing all the same great work. So again, really happy to be here. It's been almost a decade that I came to Erie, and I chose to stay here, right? I chose to stay here because I love what Erie presents. I love the opportunities. I've been part of growing the population, increasing the diversity, working with small businesses, and really being part of, what Erie is and is becoming. And I'm passionate about building, a region that's both sustainable and scalable. I mean, we all talked about family sustaining jobs. But I've got the leadership experience and the oversight of budgets that I bring to the table. And, I do mean it when I say, it's going to take a cohesive voice, and it's going to take all of us at the table to really move forward. And, I think that I can do that. And I really appreciate, again, everyone taking the time and the opportunity to be here. So thanks.
Thank you. Tyler Titus.
Thank you. In closing, I want to take a moment to first acknowledge that this is a week where we are enduring as a nation. We're witnessing quite a bit more pain being brought forward, especially with the news about the loss of Dante Wright and watching the trial of Derek Chauvin with the murder of George Floyd. And we had some of these questions that were posed earlier about equity and training, and that the human services and the humanness of the county executive spot is critical. It is critical that we have an understanding of the entire county's lived experience, and that all of us need this opportunity, and that the county executive oversees the services that are being provided to all throughout the county, and that I envision a government that is connected and representative of the people that it serves, regardless of who they are, where they're from, or what they have. And I have seen up close that in order to have a successful and prosperous economy, we have to have a healthy economy. We need a healthcare and education system that puts people first. I am ready. I am so ready to pull up my sleeves and get to work to build an Erie County where no one is left behind. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councilman Anderson, you have the last word for this forum.
Thank you, Chairman Wirtz, and thanks to everybody for tuning in with us tonight. We've been through some pretty tough times together, and I believe in the resiliency of the people of Erie County. I believe that together, coming out of this pandemic, we're going to be stronger than when we were before the pandemic even began. In fact, we know that there's people out there that are hurting. And I've been through those situations myself in my life where I've had to start over. I've had to brush myself off, get up, get to work, reinvent myself, and still make it. And the people of Erie County continuously show that they can do the same thing. We have some great opportunities right around the corner with the creation of the community college that I've been involved in, with the number of powerful messages that county government is sending as its leadership of this entire region. County government has an awesome responsibility over the human services of all the people that live in our community. And it has a growing responsibility for the economic development. We can never forget about the human capital that we need to continue to invest in. But we also need to remember that we need to be economically sound and ready for the future. I'm the only candidate that has the experience and the knowledge of county government to get that done and to get us started on a path and on trajectory that will keep the momentum moving forward. I'm proud that I'm the only candidate born and raised in Erie County, Pennsylvania, and I've spent a lifetime developing relationships, working on projects, building unity, and creating an environment of Erie County that can move forward together. So I ask for your vote for your next county executive, and together we will move Erie County forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to again thank all of our county executive candidates who took the time from a busy campaign schedule to join us here tonight for the forum. We're going to give them the opportunity to exit the conversation. Again, Carl Anderson, Rita Bishop, Delana Graysinger, and Tyler Titus. Search them on social media, check out their websites, learn more about these candidates. Tonight was an opportunity for them to perhaps introduce themselves to you for the first time and to hear their positions on a variety of issues. So again, thank you to all of our county executive candidates. We know you have a busy night ahead of you, and so you're welcome to stay if you can for the county council conversation, but we understand if you cannot. So thank you once again. We'll transition. You got it. We'll transition now to our forum with county council candidates across Erie County, and there are 3 council seats on the ballot this year across Erie County. In District 2, representing the parts of the city of Erie and East County, we have Councilman Andre Horton, who is the incumbent in that seat and the sole candidate for that seat. In District 4, joining us tonight, we have Kevin Pastefka, who is a semi-retired teacher and wrestling coach, and also the treasurer of the Erie County Democratic Party. We have Miss Angela McNair with us. She is a business owner and a member, a longtime member of the Erie City School Board. Not present with us for District 4 tonight are Jim Winarski and Julia Calippo. And in District 6, covering parts of southern Erie County, we have Lydia Lath and Herb Reedy. So I am again grateful for the time that you're all taking to spend with us this evening, and I look forward to hearing from you on the important issues raised by our panelists. Once again, I'll quickly reintroduce our panelists. We have representing organized labor, Bill Panitsky, who is the business agent for the Steamfitters Local 449 and a member of our Erie County Democratic Party Executive Committee. We have with us Pam Nolan, who is here tonight, a member and a representative of the LGBTQIA plus caucus of the Erie County Democratic Party. And we have with us young Mr. Caleb Bizard. Caleb is a senior at McDowell High School and is here tonight to represent the Erie County Young Democrats. So without further ado, we'll pass our first question off to Bill Panitsky. And once again, we'll give candidates 2 minutes to respond to each question. And at the conclusion of the round robin, we will have 90-second closing statements from each candidate. And we will move through this district by district in alphabetical order. So without further ado, Bill Panitsky, take it away.
Yes, good evening. Thanks again. My question would be, how would you see yourself being able to help promote organized labor in the position that you're running for?
This question goes to Councilman Horton from District 2.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Bill, for the question. How would I be able to promote union membership or union organizations from my position? I've been blessed to be able to do it for the last 7.5 years. I come from a union card-carrying family. I'm a 33-year member of Organized Labor, Labor's Local 603. I've done the union walks, the parades. I've organized the rallies. I've fed people on the picket lines. I'm true and blue union. Every contract that comes through, and my record bears it out, my main question is, when we're talking capital projects, is it prevailing wage and is it union? My colleagues, even the newer ones on, have pretty much come to know that about me, even in this COVID pandemic. So I think my record in the past, I ran on vision on what would I do, but I think I can stand on my record on what I've done, whether it's building trades or SEIU, or certainly AFSCME. We advocated, we were able to give the retirees from AFSCME a cost of living raise this year, and they hadn't got one in a long time. I asked for one. This is the 3rd year in a row I asked for it. But last year, I was blessed to be the chairman of that pension fund, and we were able to get it done. I'm very proud of the work that I do in unions, and I'm always advocating for working men. And finally, whether you're union or non-union, if you enjoy worker rights of any kind, if you enjoy any type of livable wage or working wage, whatever your wage is, you owe it to union. If you're a working man. I thought about the last question from the county executive people, and it was, I think, what's the biggest barriers to unions? And it's cultural wars. And we have to get our union people back to voting their paycheck and not in their feelings. And we know we've gotten away from that. And that, my friend, is the biggest barrier to unions, of not sticking together.
Thank you, Councilman Horton. Our next respondent is Angela McNair.
Thank you for having me on tonight. The way that I would get unions involved is by engaging the community, informing people that are in training or in the hiring process to know about unions and how unions can represent workers very well. Also by making sure that, we have projects that are, the labor is being provided by union workers, and just mostly staying in communication with the union people, the union organizers themselves. I often talk to Ron Oliver about, different labor union issues and things like that. So I think it's just important that we just make sure that we, stress and communicate the benefits of being in a union to people who are seeking positions at different companies and in different roles. And also in the position that I'm running for as county council, one way that I would be supporting union is about supporting the community college and the training that they provide so that people are prepared to be workers in the union. So I think that's one important thing that I can do to support, you know, people committing to be union workers is by supporting the community college in the fact that they're doing the trainings that some of these companies need in order for people to work for them to be a part of a union. So just making sure that we stay engaged with the community. We push the importance of it, of being a part of the labor union, and just making sure that we keep union workers involved so that people will know that this is the thing to do and the place to be a part of. So that's my view on that question. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Our next respondent is Kevin Pastewka. You're muted, Kevin.
Thanks a lot, Jim. Okay, thanks everybody. So, I have a background as a union organizer, not an extensive background, but coming out of college, I had a job with the Electrical Workers Union, working on a plastic workers organizing campaign. And then we went through the states of Ohio and Indiana and Illinois. And I would go to areas where there was clusters of plastic plants, and I would go in and apply for jobs, and I would find out what time shifts changed, and I would get a sense of how many people worked there. And the following days, my crew would show up at the factory gates, and we'd be handing out leaflets, and we'd be trying to encourage people to respond back to us. And when they did, we would hold meetings, and we would organize. We would begin to set up organizing committees, and our crew would move on to the next town and do it again. And so, I've always understood the importance of unions in America. I see myself as to an extent a labor historian, and I like what was said earlier about the barriers to unions today is culture wars. In a lot of ways, it's a consciousness. It's a lack of a working class consciousness. And, I miss days where, someone like Eugene V. Debs could run for president from prison, right? And get 1 million votes because he wanted to bring all the railroad workers together, right? So I feel as an advocate, when I'm in a position on city council, I'm going to be looking at every or county council, everything I have to approve, right? I want to see the prevailing wage agreements in there, right? I want to see the jobs. If there's a lot of money coming in from the COVID stimulus package, possibly a lot more money coming in from the infrastructure. I want to see creation of jobs that expand the bargaining unit. And I'm going to work with my co-council members to fight for that. And so, again, I dream of a day where the workers understand their power, right? And we continue to fight till instead of having a society like this, right, we're more like this. And I think we look at it going forward. I have hope with the Green New Deal, right? That there's a lot of the planet is at risk right now, and the consciousness has to be directed towards sustainability in a real way, in a sincere way. And so I'm hoping with the money coming in, with that kind of focus, and me being in a position to advocate that we see an expansion of the union roles in Erie County.
And Kevin, I'm going to have to stop you there.
Sure.
That you are over time. I will also add that in my rush to get this wonderful forum started, I did short shrift to the biographies of our District 6 candidates. Lydia Lath is a member of Washington Township Council and also works with Delana Graysinger at the U.S. Center for Refugees and Immigrants. And Herb Reedy is based in Union City and is a business owner and IT consultant. I'm sure I didn't do a good enough job. I never do for everybody's bio, but at least that gives the folks watching at home an idea of who they're talking to. So I hope I didn't interrupt the question, but Lydia Lath, you are up first for District 6. Thank you.
You're totally fine, Jim. I'll allow it this once. But if you forget me again, no, I'm kidding. Thank you, Bill, so much for your question about labor. So a few things. I grew up in a union household. My dad was a union member at Edinburgh University, taught there for 20 years. So I have a soft spot in my heart for that. I also have a soft spot in my heart for all the Edinburgh staff and faculty that are struggling right now in this moment. So I wanted to give attention to that. But as far as what I can do to support unions, I think, as with a lot of my perspectives on these issues, I absolutely see it as my responsibility to do my part while I'm on council, but I also want to do enough so that if I'm not there in the future, that some of these policies are carried on. So I think I see it more as structural change or systemic change, creating policies that support unions, that encourage it or require local hires, livable wages, paid sick leave, things that we can thank unions for, but that really need to be like systematically included in our policies, not just reliant on good people to ask good questions, or the good right people to be on council at the right time. That I'd really love to see that more systematically and structurally included. And to go to the point about like these, quote unquote, like culture wars, I agree that I think, I don't know if I'd call it culture wars just because that's not really my like vernacular, but I do see it as kind of a disconnect from people. I see it as partisanship that becomes really unproductive or counterproductive to our work. And that's really why my approach has been really inclusive and really trying to just focus on the issues and not get stuck in what's really uncomfortable for people around partisan rhetoric and around like what people consider politics, which is really just community needs and human needs. So that's my perspective.
Thank you, Lydia. Herb Reedy.
Thanks, Jim. I have never had the opportunity to be a member of a union. Being in the tech industry, I've always been in departments of one or two, but I have a family that is in education, and I have run campaigns for state representative for labor union leaders, and I have always made it a point to shop at union grocery stores and made sure that the union bug was on my buttons and campaigns when I ran for mayor. And I was a mayor in a small town about the size of Union City outside of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. And I understand the importance of making sure that you use labor, union labor in your contracts, and enforcing, making it a part of your policy rather than just rhetoric, and like saying it to making it part of your personal rhetoric. I support unions, to my friends. I tell them it's a good job. I had people sign up to be my nephews and my brothers sign up for summer jobs through PennDOT. And when they asked me, should I check, I want to be a union member, I said, yes, do it. You want that. That is something you want. You want to be a member of the union. You go out there and you advocate for the unions, and you want more labor members, and you want them to be part of the culture, that they're the ones that help you. That this is a good thing. You want people to believe in that, because that's how all of these rules and the rising tide, and even though I haven't had the opportunity to be in the right position to join a union, given the opportunity, I would. Although don't let my boss hear that.
I believe Herb is his own boss out there in Union City. And so our next question, it will come from Pam Nolan and the LGBTQIA caucus.
I am wondering how you would include and engage LGBTQIA plus organizations and community members in developing policy and legislation.
And that first response will come from Councilman Andre Horton.
Man, I feel like I'm shooting layups, Pam. Erie County, Erie County's Human Relations Commission. We were the first to adopt LGBTQ trans as a protected class. We did it way before it was sexy to do it, you know. I appointed a good friend of mine, a trans woman, to the Human Relations Commission advisory board. She doesn't know it, but she's getting ready to move up to be the commissioner. I'm very proud of that. You know, I'm proud of the relationships that I have with members of the LGBTQ trans community. I go up to the zone when I can on Thanksgiving, when we couldn't do it this year. I go up there and I dine with the families of not the individual, but the family supporting their son or their daughter or their child. And I get tripped up because I still haven't figured out his or her or them, or they, but I still support it. You know, I have members in my family that are members of the LGBTQ community. So I'm always advocating. Now, we passed a resolution, I support it, banning conversion therapy training and that foolishness. And so, you know, we look for every opportunity to not just for the LGBTQ trans community, but for all Erie County citizens. Regardless of their race, ethnicity, social strata, economics, what side of the tracks they're born on or not. We want Erie to be the Erie of my childhood when it was an all-American city or model city. And we know that and I know that that's realizable, and I know that it's obtainable. But only if we practice equity, and a lot of it has been uncovered or illuminated from the COVID pandemic, the lack of equity across all of it. And a lot of it didn't need to be illuminated. It just took people who chose not to see it, look at it. Well, we can no longer look away from it. It's right here in our face. And so, yeah, they have a partner with me. I'm proud to serve with them in the unions. I'm proud to serve with them on the Erie Democratic Party. I want to show up whenever they invite me to show up. And so that, you know, it was a layup.
Thank you, Councilman. Appreciate that. Angela McNair, you are up next.
One thing that I know that I would do to support is to make sure that we have subcommittees that include everyone that needs to be included. Kind of like I was a part of the first cohort of the Governor's Advisory Commission on African American Affairs. I know that Tyler was a part of the commission for the LGBTQ community. And I feel like that's a great way to get people involved in policies, is by having them sit right at the table. I feel that, you know, every group should be represented at the table. And as a council member, I know that, you know, we are working on diversity and inclusion on the school board. I initiated that task of creating I created a diversity and inclusion committee, which included people from all across races and all across everything. And that also led to the position of our diversity officer, our diversity and inclusion officer, something that we never had before. So with that advocacy, I was able to push the district in that direction. So on council, I feel that, you know, making sure that we do the same there, making sure that we provide, you know, an outlet, provide a way for everyone to be included, provide a diversity position where, we're checking up on things, making sure that, things aren't just being said, but being done, to make sure that everybody's included in all policies. I want to be able to track numbers to make sure that, we have everybody seated at the table, that we're making sure that we're all inclusive in our hiring and in everything that we do. I want to make sure that, people are sitting there at the table, not only just as advisors, but also as employees for the county. I feel like, we need to make sure that there is plenty of diversity because Erie is very diverse, not only for just this group, but just across the board, across ethnic groups, across, all of these things. We need to make sure that, it's not just one group that's saying that we represent Erie County. So my goal would be to make sure that everybody is included, to make sure that we have advisory committees that represent every area that needs to be represented, so that we create policy to make sure that everybody is included. Everybody is all inclusive in every plan that we are offering on the table for Erie County, because the only way that we will grow is if everybody is included. Nobody can feel left out. Nobody can feel like they're on the outside. We have to all be in this together. So I've never had a problem with anyone of any ethnic background, of any gender, of any, choice that they're making. Well, that's just my personality. Very, social and accepting of others. As a social worker, you tend to have that type of personality. And that's another thing that I could bring to the table is, as a social worker, we are trained to include people. We are trained to love everybody for who they are and where they are at. So I think that, once again, just making sure that we create advisory committees for all groups that need to be represented as a part of what we do as county council people is, just to make sure we have advisory committees.
Thank you, Angela. I'll have to stop you there. Kevin Pastefka.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So, right, as the treasurer of the Democratic Party of Erie County, I was proud to help carry the banner for the party in the summer 2019 Pride Parade down State Street. It was a beautiful sunny day and very celebratory, and I love that spirit. I had a questionnaire from the Erie Gang News and one of the questions was, how have I been influenced or inspired by the LGBTQIA community? And I remember in 1989, I was down in Washington, D.C. at the homeless march to, people were critical of the Ronald Reagan policies, which had expanded homelessness in America from 300,000 to 3 million during his presidency, right? And then that was the same time, like the people in China were protesting for democracy in Tiananmen Square, and there was sort of a spirit of awakening in 1989. And I was down there for the homeless march, and the ACT UP group was really on fire. They had the T-shirts that said "Silence equals death," and they were there in support of what the march was, but they were also there talking about their issues, and they were so, like, they were dug in. The AIDS crisis was serious, and they had something to say, and they had something to fight for, and they were the most inspiring group that I saw in Washington, D.C. that day. I bought the T-shirt, and so, like, I have always respected the fight that the LGBTQ community has to engage in, and I think in the broad sense, what we're talking about here too is inclusivity, and the Democratic Party is a big tent. And myself, I have a master's degree in American Studies from the University of Buffalo, and there was 5 components to that department, right? The intercultural studies, the African American studies, the women's studies, Native American studies, Puerto Rican studies, and so that is part of my educational background, right? And so, like, I am for the big tent, and I am for the big party, right? And through some of the activities that I have been involved with the Democratic Party, I've had plenty of interaction with the LGBT community. And so I have a wide open ear, and I'll be there, and I'll be on council, and I'll have that presence, and I will be accessible and happy to enhance the LGBTQIA cause. So thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. We'll have to stop you there. Lydia Lath, you are on deck.
Thank you. Thank you, Pam. It's nice to see you. So admittedly, I'm struggling to answer this question for a few different reasons. So bear with me as I kind of walk you through my train of thought. But the first is that when I think about including or engaging the LGBTQIA plus community, to me, that feels as if like they're outside of myself, when I absolutely feel a part of that community and have friends and family that are a part. Like, so that community is my community. So I don't necessarily think it's something that I show up for and then leave at any point, if that makes sense. I also think it's something you internalize, and whether we're talking about equity in the context of sexual orientation or gender identity, or if we're talking about equity in terms of race or ethnicity or religious affiliation or ability, that I think you need to internalize this, mentality of equity and of inclusion, and who's missing from this conversation, or who could unintentionally or intentionally be excluded from this, who doesn't have access to this space. Where are our biases? Where are our gaps in understanding in our policy? So I don't necessarily see it as like a one-time tool. It's always happening. It's just how you approach it. It's your framework for doing anything. In addition to that, I also think that we don't exist in a vacuum of an identity. So I think we also need to acknowledge the intersectionality of so many issues that, I have so many friends that are both, queer and Black, and the intersectionality of these issues creates unique needs and strengths and barriers for these folks. And so acknowledging that, truly, I believe engaging any group of people requires accessibility. It requires intention, and accessibility not only in being willing to talk to people, because that's huge, but also accessibility of decision-making spaces, whether we're talking about broadband accessibility so people can view a Zoom meeting, or we're talking about transportation accessibility so that people can make it to these in-person meetings when they happen, or if we're talking about accessibility for people with disabilities. My dad was in a wheelchair for a short time before he passed away, and it was one of the most eye-opening experiences, because I suddenly realized so many curb cuts, so many sidewalks were not accessible, so many buildings were not accessible. And so whether we're talking about physical accessibility or the accessibility of, closed caption or interpretation for people that don't speak English, that I think that is foundational for any sort of community engagement or meaningful discussion is at its core accessibility.
Thank you, Lydia. Mm-hmm. And the final response on this topic goes to Herb Reedy.
I also had the question from Erie Gay News on how I would, my influence from the LGBTQIA plus community. But as far as outreach to organizations, I do believe we need to have some sort of organized outreach, because whether we have, and I have members of my, children, a child who's a member of the community. I have siblings who are a member of the community. I've had coworkers, which I had in the answers that, I worked with them for years, and I didn't know because I'm a little slow on that regard. I don't pay attention. And it didn't occur to me and I didn't care, and not that I don't care, you know what I mean? It just, it wasn't a negative to me, so, but we do need to give people an active voice in in the decision making and the advisory role, so that they have a voice, and like the intersectionality, if somebody on the committees we have doesn't give them a voice, we need to be able to hear them and say, hey, they don't represent me. I need a voice too. So we need to invite them in as well. So if there is someone who's a African-American LGBTQIA plus member, and they're like, there's nobody representing me, we need their voice as well. So, but we need to keep our ears open and give more, be open to all different communities, and be open to the idea that there's more communities out there that we haven't even thought of yet. We've thought of, it used to be white men and landowners, and then it became all white men, and then it's women, and then it's African Americans, and then it's we got to have a more perfect union, and we might not be done yet. We might have more perfection to get here. We may not be done. We may be in 50 years calling ourselves unenlightened. So we've got to keep rolling and keep our minds open here. So I just keep thinking we're probably not perfect either.
Thank you, Herb. Our final question of the forum will come from our young Democrat, Caleb Bizard. Caleb, take it away.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, thank you to our county council candidates for sticking it out and being with us here tonight. And we're at the final question, so don't worry, we're almost done. But there are some who say that one of the most important responsibilities of elected office is preparing the younger generation to carry the torch of leadership in the future. So my question to you is, what role can county government play in preparing the next generation of Erie leaders?
Councilman Horton, that's to you.
So we not only have a role, we have a responsibility, and it's one that I take seriously, whether I'm in county government or any of my other extracurricular activities that I perform in the community. I believe that I'm always seeking to work myself out of a job. I'm always looking to multiply myself, or to not multiply, but to reinvent myself and to duplicate myself. People ask me all the time, what does it mean being the first or the only person of color to ever be elected to a county position in 221 years? And I tell them, it's cool. It really doesn't mean anything if the ladder gets snatched up behind me, if it takes another 221 years to get someone else. I mentor young people. I give them seats at the table. I've appointed. I'm very proud of the appointments that I've made. Everything that all the 10 years of fighting for a community college was all with young people in mind, and not just young people, but working men and women who's seeking to retrain or whatever. But I mentor a number of people, young people, and they fill different positions throughout the community. I'm very proud of it. Most of the people that I've appointed look like all my appointments look like the county. I've appointed trans, I've appointed white, I've appointed young, I've appointed old, I've appointed Black, I've appointed new Americans. I'm very, very, very proud of the work that I'm doing with young people. I've encouraged young people to run for office. I've carried some young people's petition for some are on this call, and I'm very proud to see them there. And so I make myself accessible to young people no matter what. I don't like the name drop, but I'm so very proud of the one young man because I know he's going places. And that would be, he started out as my intern, and now I depend on him for so much just to, well, I'm not going to throw his name out there, but he's, look, I provide opportunity for any young person who wants opportunity. If you want to come hang out, you want to come follow, see what I do, you want to come do what I do, then come do it. Sometimes you can do stuff so seamlessly and make it look so easy, everyone thinks that they can do it. So just because you're young, if you don't have no energy, you probably don't want to come hang around with me. because I do 16-hour days, 7 days a week.
Thank you, Councilman.
To try to stay young.
The next response goes to Angela McNair.
I will say Andre has mentored me. One reason I've started to get involved in politics is because of people like him who mentored me. We did the Rock the Vote back when Obama first ran. And that's when I really started getting involved in politics. And ever since then, you know, I'm really not I won't say a politician, I'm more of a helper and a person that likes to support others and, you know, create ways that, you know, assist others in the things that they need. But back to the original question is, you know, one way that I engage young people is, first of all, I'm a childcare provider. One of my businesses is right here in the community center. And, you know, we provide a lot of mentorship to students. I even had one of the younger people that work here, you know, running for school board. You know, I encouraged them, you work with children, you know what's going on, put your name on a petition and put your name on a ballot. And he did just that. So I'm always trying to engage people in general, especially younger people, my own children. I'm a mother. I just try to encourage their friends and them to stay involved. I know that as a young person, one thing that I really appreciated, and I think that on county council, I would be able to push for more, is some of the programming that, you know, we used to have when I was coming up. The programming that Mr. Lee provided at the Gannon entrepreneurship class. A lot of us in that class are now running our own businesses. We're all of us are professional people. So I think that, you know, as a county council member, one thing that I can do to encourage the youth to become leaders is to provide programming for them, to provide you know, outlets for them to have resources and access to information. That's one thing I'm big on, is providing information to others. So I feel like sometimes our young people just don't know what they can do, or what they, you know, are capable of, or what they can have access to. So I think that's one thing, as I said before, as a council member, is, you know, providing information, providing programs for our youth, and just being a mentor and an example for them, and making sure to engage them. A lot of times people don't want to talk to young people, you know, that are my age or older. And I'm not one of those people. I work with youth every single day, encouraging them to do positive things, encouraging them to, you know, create a mindset around becoming a leader themselves, you know, to make sure they're being an individual who is not following the crowd, but has a mind to do positive things on their own and bring others with them. So once again, like I said, as a council member, I think that pouring into programming such as the youth leadership group and other programs like that, you know, engage young people and give them information on how to do things, you know, how to become a professional, how to become an entrepreneur, and how to become an elected official, is very important for us to have in our community. And that's one thing I will push for as a council member, is programming to engage our youth so that they know how to become leaders and they know how to become positive forces in our community.
Thank you, Angela. Kevin Pastefka.
Yep, thanks. So, you know, the question is, how can county government prepare the next generation of leaders, right? Help prepare the next generation of leaders. So right now, as a candidate for county government, I can only speculate on that. But from my background, right, I'm certified secondary ed social studies, and I have taught briefly. You know, so I am a teacher, but the truth is that my real passion there is as a wrestling coach, and that I've coached. I wrestled for 12 years and coached for 19 years. And in 2006, I was hired to coach the Central Tech wrestling team. And that was a team that had 1 win and 45 losses in the 3 years prior to getting there. And, you know, if the problem wasn't the spirit of the kids or the effort of the kids, the problem was they were all novice wrestlers. They did not have the background, right? So I knew I had to bring a culture of wrestling into that room, right? And so when the season ended, we continued to work in the off season. We wrestled in April, we wrestled in May, we wrestled in the summer. In September, they would be back at school and they'd be texting me, Coach, when are we going to start? We'd start the second week of September, 1 day a week, open mat, and gradually work it up to, the season official start when we'd go full time. And so I think what ends up happening there is by the time I'm there for a few years, and all of a sudden we have a winning record, right? In the last 3 years I coached there, we're a top 5 team in the district, and kids are graduating from Central Tech and they're getting college scholarships, right? And they're becoming Division II All-Americans, right? And that's going through the process. They did not know wrestling before they met me. They left me as people who can teach wrestling, And so when I'm elected to county council, right, and I can engage the circumstances around me, I can't wait to get young people working with me, right? Because right now, right, in some ways I recently became a father, right? I had a daughter a long time ago, and she was unknowingly adopted out, and now we've met, and now she's living here with me and my 3 grandchildren. And, we're going through this family process of development, and my grandson, he's 10 years old and he's on the wrestling mat now, and so it's a wonderful new world opened up to me, of family life. But again, back to my roots of being a wrestling coach, I've dealt with young people my entire career. And so again, as a member of county government, I will certainly create the space and certainly need the help of young people. And in ways, in the real sense, that's who I'm doing the work for, right? Because we are building towards the future. So,
Thank you,
do
Kevin.
it. Yep.
I'm going to stop you there.
Yeah, every time, Jim. And every time, right when I'm ending.
Lydia Lath, you are up next.
All right. Thank you, Caleb. So I think it's my turn for a layup now, as Andre said. Just kidding. So I guess I'm going to bring up my trauma therapist background. So for people that don't know, I was a trauma therapist to children and teens who, it was mostly in Crawford County, but had experienced a wide variety of traumas, from witnessing overdoses or suicide or abuse, neglect, really horrific things. But one of the approaches to trauma treatment, there's a book out called The Body Keeps the Score, but it's this idea that when we experience a trauma, we carry that trauma with us if we don't resolve it, right? It stays with us in our minds and in our bodies. But at the same time, our body, we also just inherently know what we need, right? Just like when we know when we're thirsty or hungry, we know what we need to heal. And my job as a therapist is not to come in and say, oh, here's what you need to heal. My job was to go in and create a space for them to process, to give them some vocabulary, to know what things were or what words they needed that they didn't quite have. But then they knew what they needed and they knew what they wanted. And so in thinking about preparing the younger generation, I don't know if I count as the younger generation, but I feel like part of it is giving young people the space and the resources to thrive, but that it's not me gifting you something that you don't already have. You already have a lot of knowledge and experience that is uniquely you, that makes you uniquely qualified for whatever positions and things you want to do. And it's just about giving you the chance to flourish with those things. It's about giving you access to decision-making spaces. It's about giving you access to livable wages and well-paying jobs. It's about giving you access to good education and equitable education. It's about paying you. Let's pay young people. I don't know why that's a radical idea, but let's pay young people, right? I had an intern create my logo and I paid her to make the logo because I knew that there was value in what she was doing. And there are so often that we take advantage of the creative and energetic passions of young people, and we don't repay them properly. So I think giving space, encouraging, and just, giving you the payment and the resources you deserve.
Thank you, Lydia. Herb Reedy.
Can I get your precise question back?
Caleb?
Absolutely. So I was just wondering what role county government could play in preparing the next generation of Erie leaders.
Okay. I was actually interested in the first question you asked the county executives at first, but as far as preparing the next generation of leaders, one thing would be to prevent them from moving, to give them the opportunities to stay in the area, to give them the jobs and the economic viability to stay here, to train them for jobs that are in the community, to give them the idea that these, I'm in tech. I mentioned that, and while I have a computer store here in Union City, but I do have a day job in Erie, so this is a little extra thing I do here. But I moved when I was 21 to Florida, and then I was mayor of a town outside of McSherrystown. So I did that. I was part of the brain drain, but I moved back home to be close to family. I was born and raised in Erie, lived in Corey and Union City. So, I've been all over Erie County. But I came back, but we need the population to come back. Erie was 133,000 people. It's lost 30% of its population. We need a reason for people to stay besides, tourism and healthcare jobs. We need to also address the fact that while Erie's population has gone down, Mill Creek's has gone up. The city of Erie's population is 25% minority. Mill Creek's is only 5%. Of the poverty rate in Erie is high. Mill Creek's is low. Why? The 1960 the changes to the Constitution in 1960 stopped Erie from annexing. It stopped naturally growing. So Mill Creek, the white people started moving to Mill Creek. You got artificial or literal redlining in a way, where all the white people moved to Mill Creek to get away from the people in Erie. So you've got all of this structural stuff going on where we need to reset a lot of things to fix our house and get it in order to where the people who have an Erie address should live in Erie, for one. Mill Creek basically shouldn't exist. That's a little harsh, but, and being in the 6th district, that's saying a lot when I'm not in Erie, but just looking at it from the outside, it's like, hey, why is that? But, you've got to own your community in a way that I could even see Union Township and Union Borough merging. I wouldn't be against that. I live in the township. I wouldn't mind having coverage from the Union Police or Union City Police Department if I called because something happened up the road, So there's some give and take, but the annexation laws that changed in the 60s, that 1960 Constitution messed up. But as far as opportunities for young people, we need as a generation to be able to show the younger generation that we can make changes too. We need to show the younger generation that they can be leaders, that they can take control of their own destiny. That hasn't happened for 50 years. My generation was given this government and told, we're good. You just manage it and keep going.
Herb, I'm going to have to stop you there. We're running a little tight on time, and we went a little longer on that one. So we're going to move now into our closing statements. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to make a closing statement, and I will be serious about the timer this time around. Now, we've had plenty of time, and it's been a wonderful conversation. I want to thank again all of our candidates who have taken the time to join us here tonight. All of the panelists for bringing to us the great questions. We missed out on our questions from the Black Caucus, and Selena King, the chairwoman of the Black Caucus, had an 11th hour emergency that prevented her from being here. We hope all is well there, and she expects to be with us tomorrow night for our city candidates forum, where we'll be hearing from our mayoral candidates and our candidates for Erie City Council. So stop back at the ErieDems YouTube channel tomorrow night tonight for our next forum. Now, without further ado, I'll turn it back over to Councilman Andre Horton for his closing statement.
Well, thank you again, Chairman Wirtz, the Democratic Party, panelists, candidates for all county offices for giving of your time and service. I know it isn't easy putting yourself up for public examination. I'd like to say that I have the privilege of serving Erie County for the last 7 going on 8 years. I look forward to serving another term. We've been able to do a lot of things together. We've been able to do a community college. We've been able to do summer jobs and more program. We've been able to do Energize Erie. We've been able to declare Corey blue zones. We've been able to declare racism as an emergency health crisis here in the Erie County so that we can address some of the things that many of the candidates have discussed tonight. And maybe perhaps we can right some of the wrongs that were done by redlining and by disinvesting in Black and Brown communities. We'll have that opportunity to treat everybody equal and to address some of the things that were illuminated. I believe that Erie County's best days are ahead. Even coming out of the global pandemic, I'm excited about the future here. The money that's coming in under the American Rescue Plan, the broadband money and the infrastructure money will present us with an excellent opportunity to all move forward together. I like to thank all the candidates that came out tonight. I look forward to working with one or two of you a couple of you are going to come on to Erie County Council. I'm blessed to be unopposed on this cycle unless someone does a write-in on me. It looks like I'll be there. And when you get there, regardless of what your party is, regardless of how your campaign is, you'll find a willing worker and someone willing to help you move Erie forward together, someone looking to embrace your ideals as well and to make them mine as well and to work ubiquitously for the betterment of all of Erie County. So thank you again.
Thank you, Councilman. Angela McNair.
I just want to say that I'm already invested in a lot of the things that County Council is doing, such as the community college, such as the summer jam program where the youth come and work here at Booker T and other places around the city. I've been invested, in a lot of things, that Councilman Horton has done on County Council. I've been right there, behind them in support of a lot of things. So I like to feel like I'm already invested in this situation and I already have, some knowledge about what's going on with County Council and I would be a great fit in that position. And first and foremost, I'm a member of this community. I know what everybody's going through. I'm a mother, I'm a wife. And during COVID, it hit me just like it hit a lot of other people. I'm an educator. I have a childcare facility. I'm a social worker. My whole life is surrounded about helping people. And as a school board member, I'm familiar with dealing with large budgets and crisis situations. So I just feel like this position is going to be an opportunity to uplift the community and continue in the progressive manner that council has already been taking us. I look forward to getting our families healthy. I look forward to broadening mental health and physical health services around the county, not just in the city, but in the entire county. I feel like we should be all inclusive as a whole county. I feel strongly about getting businesses back open and giving them the support that they need. As a small business owner, I know the struggle and I have a very great insight on what needs to be done in order to get us all back on track and back to the place that we need to be, where we have our youth wanting to stay here, wanting to work here, wanting to live here, and wanting to be a part of a situation that's progressive and moving forward. And I'm here for it. I can't wait to be sitting up there on County Council and representing District 4 and the whole county as a whole. I'm ready to move forward, and I hope that you vote for me on May 18th. I look forward to working with our entire county next year.
Thank you, Angela. Kevin Pastewka.
All right, sure. Thanks. So, I mean, I think as I make a final statement here, I mean, I want to emphasize some of my qualities, right? I mean, I'm dependable. I mean, I talked about coaching wrestling at Central Tech for 7 years. I missed one practice in that time. That was for my aunt's funeral. And I wasn't a whistleblowing coach either. I went hard. I would say to the kids, hey, when I ask you who the hardest working person in this room, you better say I am. And then I'd say to the kids, who's the hardest working person in this room? They would say, you are, coach. And I would say, no, I am, meaning you are. You got to be the hardest working guy in the room. But I appreciate that they thought of me like that. And then, so I'm going to bring that. I'm going to bring it hard when I'm going. All right. I think also I'm efficient. I mean, I've been the treasurer of Erie County Democratic Party for almost 3 years now and handled nearly $250,000. And every penny has been accounted for and every bill has been paid. And I will stay on that. I'll bring that sort of math to this approach, right? I'm going to know what I'm doing. I'm going to be aware of the dynamics, and I'm going to continue to study the details, right? And I think also I'm concerned, right? I would not be here if I didn't care, right? I care about the community that I live in. I'm proud of the community that I live in. I want to make the community that I live in better, right? And I want to make it better for myself, for everyone around me, and for my children and grandchildren, right? And everyone around them. And I see great potential in Erie. I love Erie, right? I love the lake. I love the music scene, right? I love the sports. I love the culture, right? I love the community picnics. I love the neighborhood picnics. And so, I look forward to enhancing life in this county. So appreciate people's consideration and vote and support, and let's do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Lydia Lath.
Thank you, Jim. I guess I just want to say that I can bring a fresh perspective. That there are a lot of different perspectives on county council. And Angela, I love that you're a social worker. I am too. So shout out to social workers out in Erie County. But I really think, despite being one of the younger candidates running, that I do have a wealth of experience. And it's not just personal experience or experiences connected to my family or friends, but as a trauma therapist and a social worker working with people, I told you I've worked with kids and teens who have experienced trauma. I've also worked with previously incarcerated men in Crawford and Erie counties. So, and I now work with refugees and immigrants. So if we're looking at the cross section of our community, I mean, I've talked to a lot of different people and I've heard from a lot of different people. I've listened to people talk about witnessing someone overdose. I've talked to men previously incarcerated talk about the struggles of reintegrating into society and being taken seriously and experiencing, again, intersectional discrimination for their felony background and their race and their sexual orientation or all these different identities that they experience. So I know that I can carry all of that with me to council. I know that I can bring a different perspective than what's currently there. I know that I will be able to ask questions that aren't being asked, bring perspectives that aren't being brought. And I want to do so. I want to help bridge gaps in systems that I saw as a therapist. When I was picking up the pieces of people's lives in the aftermath of such horrific trauma, I saw the gaps in systems that were supposed to help them. I saw gaps that needed filled on a systemic level, that it was not the individual's faults for the issues that they were experiencing, that there's a lot of work that we can do on a county and municipal level governments that we have a responsibility to the people. This isn't about profits or politics, it's about people. And that's really the perspective that I'd like to bring to council.
Thank you, Lydia. Herb Reedy.
Thank you, Jim. And thank you to Pam, Bill, Caleb. I think I'm missing one. Thank you to Lydia and the other candidates for council. I'm running because the the incumbent in the 6th district basically was an unknown quantity. The business owners that I know in Union City and Corey, when I would talk to them, they either have a negative opinion or no opinion because they don't know who the incumbent for the 6th district is. Even when I mention the name, they still don't know who he is. So that's what prompted me to run. The ones that have a negative opinion, it's because they just don't, they had bad interactions with them. So I decided to get on the ballot because I have experience as a mayor running a $1 million plus budget of a small community. I was on the transportation committee for a county where Gettysburg is, Adams County, where their population is growing from 100,000 population and expanding because they're a bedroom community for DC. Conversely, Erie counties is slowly dwindling. And my goal would be to reverse that trend. We talk about immigration. We need immigration, whether it's from another part of the country or another country. We need immigration to Erie. We need to figure out how to get more people here. You know, we keep wanting to build new buildings, shiny buildings for less people. You know, we need to start getting people here, whether one way or the other. You know, it's not build it and they'll come. You know, we need to, we could have Star Trek movies. You know, we're like Rura Penthe in the winter, if you get the reference for the Klingon world. But basically, I believe that I have the broad background, whether it's I'm a Webby Award judge. You know, I've been a webmaster for all the crap you see in Hallmark stores before. For Nesco, global company. I've been various jobs, but I'm getting the wrap-up signal. So I hope I get your vote on May 18th. I hope that we can fight in the 6th district, and I appreciate your time. Thank you. Herb Reedy. Thanks.
Thank you, Herb. And again, thanks to all of our candidates for taking the time out to participate in this important conversation. This is again just a foundation for the voters out there, a starting point for them to get to know who the candidates are. I encourage you to you at home to Google and search social media for each of our candidates. Andre Horton, Angela McNair, Kevin Pastefka, Lydia Lath, Herb Reedy, thank you so much for running, for putting yourselves out there and putting yourselves on the ballot. Thank you for participating tonight. On behalf of our panelists, Bill Panitsky, Pam Nolan, Caleb Bazard, on behalf of our caucus chairs who helped put this together, and my vice chair, Cindy Purvis, and our executive director, Chelsea Alcorn, I'm Jim Wirtz. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Please come back tomorrow for our City Candidates Forum and Thursday at 5:30 for our Erie City School Board candidates. Have a great